Okay, so I just finished doing a video of how to train foot speed, foot agility, precision, smoothness, basically using ladder drills or hopscotch, take your pick. If you haven't gotten the chance to watch that yet, there will be a link, but to reemphasize a couple of the things I talked about in there, when you're training at all, anything, you want to be able to work on precision, smoothness, and efficiency, not speed. If you're wasting energy, you're never going to go fast. If you're wasting energy, you're not going to be smooth. If you're, imprecise, all the speed in the world isn't going to do you a damn bit of good if you miss when you get there. So, when you're working on anything, slow, precise, then a little faster, still precise. If it's not precise, you slow down. Or you set a larger goal. If I'm wanting to work on being able to hit a bullseye from 100 yards away, and I can't hit a bullseye from 20 yards away, I need to start with that 20-yard target that's this big, relatively, compared to this. But in our game, go slow, go larger, be precise, be smooth, and then worry about, then you will be fast. You just will. When you do it as efficiently as possible, aside from developing some reflexes, you'll be fast. Everybody will be, oh, you're so fast. And they'll be right. So this is about combining footwork and sword strikes. I think every single class on the Rapier or heavy field that I've seen that's really talked about sword work, about training sword work. How do you train precision? How do you train throwing shots, combos, whatever? Doesn't include the footwork that leads up to it. So I just spent 20 minutes talking about how to work on your footwork, and I could come over here and train how to do sword work, but if the two aren't combined, then all that over there and all that over here isn't going to do a bit of good. So how do you train the smooth, precise, different combinations of steps that I talked about in the other video with being able to land a shot at the end? Well, you do those steps and land a shot at the end. And if you can't land the shot, you slow down, you go bigger. So just like with the ladder drills, smoothness, precision, you want a major part of that goal is to have your hips stay level so that your platform is level, so that you're firing from a stable platform, or whatever you're firing. And then anything we do to one side, we're going to do to the other. So if we do, throw over here to this, and then we're going to switch it around and go this way. And if you're feeling really froggy, you'll do it left-handed too. So why do I have these rings laid out? I'm lazy, and I don't like to reinvent the wheel if I can avoid it. So I looked at a book by a guy who taught people how to not die trying to cut each other with swords. And his name is Marozzo, and he is a wonderful, wonderful master. If you can make sense of his word salad. And hey, there they are, standing on circles, moving around each other. So I modified that and laid it out for myself. Why doesn't it quite look the same? I've got an extra ring. I'm working at adding some entering footwork. So, in that they were here and they were just basically stepping around the circle, throwing at each other. I want to add, am I going to step to here? And then where am I going to go further on the circle? Or am I going to step to here and then go to here? Because we need to be able to change direction. So there's going to be 2 layers of footwork, maybe 3, that you're training in these shots as you get from, through ABC, measure. And you can even think of those rings in that terms. I did not intentionally label them to be any sort of range. They are labeled A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, X, Y, Z, just as to guide the footwork patterns that I'm going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss all the possible patterns because every combination of foot positions and transitions to foot positions is an option. And and you already know how to work it when you have a bunch of different options. You work all the options. You do, heavy fighters talk about I've seen, heavy fighters teaching Pell. You throw 1, 1, 1, 2. The same way that I didn't want to reinvent making a footwork diagram. 500 years ago, some Germans said, hey, here's how you train cutting. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the second ring in is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And so we have our cutting patterns that are descended from or reinventions of what they had 600 years ago, 500 years ago. And so I'm not going to try doing a whole lot of extra work. So I've got an extra ring because of the footwork I'm adding in to enter and to adjust angles on the move. If you drew out those triangles that Marozzo's diagram has, they would not line up with my points because I'm working at taking smaller steps and around a slightly different target. You noticed that his opponent was on the opposite side of that center circle. My opponent is in the middle of this circle right here. And I'm working from out of range to up close and personal. Because everybody's step, foot length is different, everybody's arm reach is different, everybody's circle is going to be slightly different. And then it's depending on what are you trying to work on. Are you trying to work on, if you're a fencer, are you trying to work on voids? Well, so you're going to take that, voids and lunges and recovery. So you're going to take the lunge, boom. Now where do you want your foot to go from after here? Well, okay, so you mark that. And if you want to be working on one of my favorite things to do, which is lunge and then pirouette out, well, so you need to have a mark where that back foot ends up. So I start out here, and this is the sort of footwork pattern that I'm talking about. My right foot's on C. I lunge to put my right foot on 2, pirouette to put my right foot on 4. Now I have to get out of this somehow. So my right foot's going to go to Z. And then I can retreat. Keep myself safe. Sometimes I end up doing this one. And it looks smooth, but it's also, I feel bad because it's kind of rude, and I don't mean to do it. So let's talk about then, let's see. Right, if you're throwing, and because I'm talking to the heavy fighters and the rapier fighters at the Barony, depending on what weapon you're using, your steps are going to be different, your goals are going to be different. You can, if you don't have, we already talked about, all you need for the footwork diagrams is duct tape. All you need for sword work, if you don't have a sword, is a broom handle, a broom, a stick, or the sword you stole from your baby while he was asleep. So let's talk through that example of Pellwork training that I mentioned, the 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, that I think most heavy fighters know about. So I'm starting out here. I have to get my footwork to bring me in there. And I'm going to work on getting to throw that leg shot, maybe that leg wrap, with a single step from here, which is, for me, out of measure right now. And to do that, I think C wants to go to 4. So let's throw C to 4, 1. C to 4, 1, 1. And here I show my ignorance of much heavy fighting beyond I try to get behind my shield and not get hit sometimes. In that I don't know, I have not yet started to work on all the combinations and discover what really is useful for me, and then different stuff is useful for different people. But the idea, you may be getting the idea. Take the step to throw the shot. Take the step to throw the shot the next way you want to throw the shot. Here. I'm going to go back to my German diagram. Take the step to throw the descending cut, and then the return. Take the step to throw the descending cut, the return, and then the rising cut. And then do I want to add? I'm recovering here by bringing my foot from 4 back to C. Do I want to recover a different way? So, boom, to 4, and then stepping out here to really bring my foot back to D. So recovering off at an angle, hiding behind its shield. So now you've got all those different sword patterns you can throw, and you've been working those and standing there and boom, 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 boom. Now you have all the footwork patterns you can add in. So Monday, work the first step combination you want to work, and then throwing the shot, and then retreat out, recover out, and then throw it again and throw the next shot in the pattern. Recover out, step back in, and then the next day you work the next footwork combination. Again, depending on how you want to lay out your circles and your goals, and fencers. If I'm working at advanced lunge pass, I'm going to advance and go for my lunge and hopefully land it. And then I'm going to figure out a pass. So here, okay. Now I'm going to advance and lunge in a different hand position. Or really, fencers, it's fairly straightforward. You lunge and you hit the spot, and make sure you hit the spot over and over again. Point control is a myth. If your body's not moving right, if your body's not smooth, precise, and efficient, you're gonna miss. Your point has no control. There is no control of your point, just the rest of you. And then in cut and thrust, very much like what I was demonstrating with the heavy fighting, it's really the same thing, just depends on which foot you have forward at that moment. So then you can start adding in heavy fighters, cut and thrust fighters, fencers. Right now I've been starting with my right foot forward because I'm really working short sword. Go from left foot forward. Now I'm working the same stuff, same side, to the opposite side. And then the transitional steps. And as many spots as there are, as many steps as you might need to, as many spots on all these circles as there are, is if you multiply that times itself, something like that, or factorial, something like that. I can't remember. That was 20 years ago. But you get some massive combination of steps. A lot of them aren't going to be useful. Some of them are. If you're not sure, ask. Heavy fighters might want to ask Yazi, not me. Fencers, I will gladly talk about it. If it's cut and thrust, Nikislav will probably also gladly talk about that. But yeah, you can see that with just the footwork drill that was laid out in, you could lay it out in 6x6 space. Whatever your Pell is, even if it's just a corner on a wall that you're hitting very gently, you can lay it out in this much space. So you don't need to be able to go to a parking lot or a park and practice. You don't need to be able to get with your friends. You can work all of this, taking the step, throwing the shot, taking the step, throwing the shot, while you're waiting for practice to resume. And I hope you do, because on both fields, I like getting beat. I don't like losing, but I like getting beaten so that I can learn from it. And I want everybody, fencers, cut and thrust fighters, heavy fighters, to get good, so I have to get better. So I'm inspired to get better. I hope you're all healthy. I hope your families are healthy. I hope in this time of anxiety, you're managing to cope. And exercise is a good way to deal with stress. Hitting things is a good way to deal with stress. And if you can't go to practice and hit your friends, you can hit a pedal. And you can move your feet to get that, calorie burn, that stress release that way too. Good luck. Like I said, if you have questions, let me know.